Wait, I want to see if the pan can block bullets.
That works too.
Alright. Hey everybody, hope you're doing well. This is another R.E.P.O video. Obviously my last one did fantastic and I really appreciate every single one of you, those who are new to my channel and those who have been around since the beginning. I'm so glad that everyone seemed to enjoy that video. Before we get started, we're going to be going over basically just a continuation. I've been playing more of the game, recording more things, and finding more things. And also taking some of your comments, the new monsters I've encountered. It's changed my view on a lot of these theories. So I wanted to do a follow-up video to kind of just continue, because I think this is a game that we'll be able to talk about, especially as new updates come out. I believe their first big update is going to include new maps, which will have their own unique stories. So to get started with some corrections, somebody pointed out that in the tutorial, there is a reference to the AI Safety Act of 2184. And this sort of reframes the way I was looking at the timeline of the game. I was going off of the calendar in Magenic Station that said 2097 as the last time humanity was around, considering that's the last time the calendar had been marked off. However, this shows that whatever happened at that station happened before the rest of humanity fell. The other thing is, I'm not sure what I was on when I looked at the whiteboard and said, oh, what's in me? It clearly says what's in the ice. Some people are saying this looks like what's in the ice.
My bad. You didn't see that.
I guess I could see that, yeah. I don't know, I think at that point we had been playing the game for a while, and we had gotten to the point where we were like, we just need to get to Magenic Station so we can get some footage of that, and then we can go to bed. And I guess I was just tired and really looking for anything, so I apologize about that. Very clearly says what's in the ice. Another thing is, somebody told me that there was a secret in the service station, an area in the ceiling that you could actually get into that had another human skeleton as well as a unique grenade.
That's cool.
Yeah, like, it also provides some, like, another, like, teamwork aspect.
What the fuck is the
duck
doing?
Wait, we found
dude?
it accidentally! Someone put me up here!
Oh my god!
On three, you ready?
Alright, I'm almost in. I'm almost in. Oh.
Why
did you take me out?
No, we had him.
You had me in!
Okay.
Okay, let go! Yes!
So if you're holding an object...
I was able to get in there, and the grenade itself is a sort of just a regular frag grenade, as opposed to the electronic ones that you can find and purchase. Well, I just say, ah!
Gotcha.
Alright. The other interesting thing is this skeleton has a different colored hat than the one downstairs, so that means this is a different person entirely. Another thing that was brought up in the comments was the clown. I theorized that it was some sort of cross between a mutant and technology. Someone else pointed out that the laser beam it fires is very similar to the one that fires from the wizard's staff.
This is great. I'm playing shit.
Yeah. So it's possible that the clown was created by the headmaster at Swiftbroom Academy, and that's why it has this unique ability. Before we get into some of the other questions that are more in regards to the lore and what happened to humanity, I want to address something. There's a difference, in my opinion, between lore and gameplay. For example, in the game Fallout, Fallout 4, the fusion cores only last a couple of minutes at a time, whereas in the lore, they would last for days, months, whatever it is, and they would need to be changed every once in a while. The opposite is true in Fallout 3 and New Vegas, where the lore mentions there being microfusion packs, which keep the power armor working, but you never need to change them when you're playing the game. This is just an example of a gameplay mechanic versus lore. One does not make the other one not true. And that's something we need to acknowledge going forward in this game. So when I talk about the origins of creatures, where they may have been created, just because I can find them at every single map doesn't mean that they didn't originate in one. All that to say, I think it's something important to consider as we go forward, because I'm going to be theorizing about how some creatures may have originated at specific places, and to some that might not line up with the gameplay of, oh, you can find them everywhere though, so that doesn't really make sense. And that's also something I didn't really consider last time. I took the fact that monsters could be found at every location, the same monsters could be found at every location, as basically that monsters are everywhere. When in reality, it's probably that some monsters are more exclusive to other areas, and it's more of a gameplay thing rather than a lore thing that they show up everywhere. Next is, what do the monsters drop? When you kill a monster, you can find these sort of red orb-looking things that you're able to sell. Pretty much every monster drops one when it's killed, and they're not hard to kill. If you have a gun, a shotgun, or the flamethrower, you're able to kill these monsters fairly easily. My theory is that this is what sort of ties together technology and magic in this world. That it's the same reason that the robots can be affected by potions as well as other forms of magic. And I already proposed the idea that robots were half magical, but maybe this is some sort of the key to humanity finding magic. It's sort of the core thing that powers the technology as well as the weird magic stuff. It's the same red color as the wizard staff. I feel like that has some sort of significance. And now we're going to get into how each location seems to have its own incident and its own way of things just going awry. Obviously, they each have their own stories, but basically just that it wasn't that everything was caused by one thing that caused the end of the world. I think that maybe all of these things combined together to lead to humanity's downfall. And obviously, we'll learn more about it as we get more locations. But the biggest one is Headman Manor. Now we're going to talk about Headman Manor. Headman Manor is one that I did not have much to really say about in the previous video, and that's simply because I hadn't discovered a lot of the very interesting things that I did in my most recent playthrough. My first big discovery was a shrine, seemingly, of this sort of, basically a bunch of candles and this portrait of this weird mask thing. It almost reminds me of a drama/comedy mask. This is not something we see in the game, or at least I haven't encountered it yet. So it leads me to believe that it's some sort of higher power in terms of the magic, I guess. The other thing I found may explain not only the origins of the creature itself, but also what happened to Headman Manor. The floating head monster, or as it's called on the wiki, the Headman, which I'm not sure how accurate it is. The wiki has sort of been spotty when I've done my research. I think it's just because the game is so new at this point, but they were missing a lot of weapons and things like that. Granted, my previous video was also missing a lot of things because as we play more of the game, more stuff is going to show up. I also, this is not like super important, but I feel that the floating head really resembles the fallen angel from the Amazing Digital Circus, and I think that makes so much sense in terms of the tone of the game and that show, that it's almost a dark comedy, there's horror elements, but also when you're playing this game with your friends, it turns into a comedy, and like that, it can become terrifying.
It's right there.
Oh, I got it.
Hey Noah, I found
And then
a thing
there's a
that might be of
couple as well.
interest.
Hold on. Wesley, can you get it? What's up?
Look at this picture of Bryson's uncle, and tell me this face doesn't look familiar.
But my big discovery is that there is a gravestone with the Headman's face on it. Now this raises a lot of questions. I assumed that the owner of the mansion was the sort of sunglasses wearing hipster type person that we see above most of the fireplaces. However, it seems that the original owner of Headman Manor died long ago, and this is someone who inherited the place. My theory is that this person, possibly a relative, attempted to bring him back using this sort of weird ritual thing. And it did bring him back. However, he came back as a monster. Sort of one of those things where you get what you ask for, or something like Pet Cemetery where they come back, they're just not quite the same, that kind of thing. And once again, the monster appearing at other locations could mean one of two things. It could mean that it escaped, or it's simply a gameplay thing. The Genic Station is one that has a pretty clear sort of path of events, I guess. It's pretty clear that it is a reference to the film The Thing. While I was exploring, I found new sort of areas where there's like a basement, there's also stuff like scaffolding, a more outdoor area. It's pretty interesting. I discovered some snow vehicles, which were very interesting. The other thing of note is that there are these test tubes with creatures inside of them. One of them is empty. I think it's safe to say that what happened was around 2097, the scientists stationed at this base found something in the ice, brought it out, maybe experimented on it, and then it went haywire and killed everybody. I think that's a pretty safe assumption. And finally, Swift Broom Academy. Swift Broom Academy is one that we know the most about. The writing on the wall, as well as the damage around the location, paints a pretty clear picture. With the discovery of the AI Protection Act of 2184, this changes my frame of reference for when the class of 87 actually was. It's entirely possible that this was 2087. And I think that's pretty interesting. I think it makes a lot of sense to say that the wizard and magic stuff only really started to happen towards the end of the 2000s. So it just makes me wonder what our new timeline looks like. So here's my new theory. At some point in the early 2000s at Magnetic Station, something was found in the ice. A strange creature. The scientists poked and prodded at it until they found this red orb. This red orb is what led to humanity discovering magic. It allowed so many new and insane technological advances, magic, spells, real potions that really work, and it gets so widespread that by 2087, a wizarding school is opening and has a full class. However, in 2097, another creature breaks out of containment and kills everybody at the station. But it's covered up and just left to get buried in snow. By 2184, AI is used everywhere, even in our government, in our IRS and tax collection, things like that. So much so that AI workers are actually protected and almost treated like people with protection acts like the one in 2184. Around this time, the owner of the illustrious Headman Manor passes away and his son takes over. I believe that they would have some kind of connection to the Swift Broom Academy because of how many magic items you can find at Headman Manor, as well as what I'm about to say next. The headman's son, super distraught, goes to the headmaster of Swift Broom Academy asking for some way to bring his father back. This leads him to performing this strange ritual, which does bring his father back, but as this floating head crazy monster thing, and it goes horribly wrong. This makes the headmaster go crazy. He doesn't understand what he did wrong. At this point in time, think of it as magic is at its high point. You think magic can do anything. It's led to all these robots, these insane advancements, but it couldn't bring someone back. This leads the headmaster to go crazy. He begins researching more and more and trying more and more strange things with the magic until finally his monsters escape and wreak havoc across the academy and then eventually escape into the world. And then many of them adapting as time goes, creating new monsters, merging with the technology out there, and once again, the taxman lies in wait until eventually he's able to enact his plan to start sort of taking over the world, sending out his little robots to go collect items for him. So all that to say, just a little more detail on what I think happened. Obviously there's a bit of speculation with the connection between Headman Manor and Swift Broom Academy. Once again, as the game gets updated and we get more maps and more notes and details, I'll be able to do more and talk about what could have happened. And I think it's really fun because this is a game that is brand new. We really don't know much about it. So thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate every single one of you, and I hope you have a good morning or evening or, whatever.